This is an unbelievable game. Might be the most interesting game I've ever played in Title Tuesday.
Look at this opening. You know it's going to be an incredible game where Magnus plays main line, King's Indian defense with white, and Sina Moverhead, a 15-year-old chess prodigy from Iran, just fights him with this fiery opening with the black pieces. They're playing in Title Tuesday, online chess at its best. 16th of September here. What a classic game this is. And Mango Chutneyson, world number 1, just goes with an absolute main line here. Now, for those who don't know, you cannot win a pawn here, because although it looks like you're doing great, bang, you get smack bang walloped with this one, flavour of the line, and the material is restored. So we didn't see this, we saw this, and then this, and then this. This is absolute cutting edge, main line, grandmother theory, and this is the bayonet attack. Be careful if you're playing over the board and you touch the pointy end, it does get sharp. We now see the knight sideline itself, looks weird, but after rook e1, we see why Magnus made room, because the knight's pouncing forward, preparing to pick up that bishop bear, so Magnus drops it back. Yes, it looks dead right now, but picture pawn to c5 soon, and this is the real battleground. White often thrusts here and this sort of thing. Black plays here, bang, it's what we immediately see. You could take. This is actually the most popular move, because then you achieve this thrust in the center. It's just a different game. Black starts coming with the g-pawn, but Magnus doesn't go for it. He plays a4. I mean, that thing is deadly, pretty much a sword at this point. After pawn h6, he then plays a weird one. Rook a3, a mysterious rook lift. This is a man who understands the position. He wants to swing one day, maybe even attack black on the king side, turn those tables. Pawn g5 now goes for the throat, and Magnus says, get out my house, I'm fed up of you being there. Does the knight move? No, it does not. This is the most interesting game Magnus ever played in Title Tuesday, he said. And here's an example of why, because takes on e4 is played, immediately starting tension between the knights. You could actually take here, and then black can either drop back or jump in here, although this one doesn't work very well. But Magnus instead goes for the move. Knight takes on g5. So although he's given up a piece for a pawn, never a good idea, he in turn is winning a piece, right? Restoring the material. Opening his own king, yes, but he's reckoning that when this knight moves and the bishop swings, or the rook rather, and the pieces flow out, he'll actually be the one attacking. Now you could flick in this pawn e3 move. A little bit tricky. White's best is to take and you stop the rook swing. But this one is played. Very understandable to set up the Connect 4, especially when the prize is a workout session with Wesley So. There he is, some of the most chiseled abs in all of chess. Truly stunning, a cheese grater for a stomach. And after Magnus captures in the center, best technically knight f5 to d4, but this is played. It's a real red rag to a bull, just inviting in the queen with an attack. Bishop f5 is best, but not played. Knight h4. What is that one all about? Well, it's actually a very tricky idea. Magnus, however, counters with a brilliancy here. And just before we dive into that one, first, a quiz question. What do these top players all have in common? Well, as you can see, they're absolute chiseled Adonises. Why? Because they understand the critical importance of keeping the body in shape, fit, healthy, active, and that then leads to a sharp, active, healthy mind. And that is where the sponsor of today's video comes in, the incredible bod.coach, an AI personal trainer in your pocket. Yes, someone went and did it, and it's breathtakingly good. I mean, it literally texts you every day to help keep you on track, hold you accountable, which is a huge part of actually hitting your goals, as you can see by the evidence on screen. And not only will the personalized coach tailor a plan to you, but it'll learn your schedule, the equipment you've got access to, the goals you're trying to hit, any challenges you run into, constantly then tailoring the plan, building your workouts. But here's the absolute best part. Instead of paying those eye-watering prices like you would for a personal trainer, you pay like a 30th of the cost. Perfect for busy professionals, parents, out-of-shape chess players, basically anyone who struggles with consistency. It's the app for you. Head down to the link in the description, bod.coach/epicchess. Not only will it get you a fantastic 10% off for a limited time only, but you also get the 7-day free trial to check it out. Go to that link while it lasts. It could change your life forever. Give that one a go. Now back to the chess here. Magnus Carlsen playing the epic rook to h3. Giving up an exchange, you really had to take it or stuff was collapsing. Bishop takes back and it's really no longer a bishop. It's a pope. Pope e6. Rook f6 is tried, but not so much covering a square, setting a really tricky idea. If you take this knight, then you walk into check and there's a discovery on the queen. Now the line goes like this. You don't actually lose the queen, but it's very bad. Not the way you want to go. So don't touch the knight. And if you take the rook, well then queen takes. And you're getting a lot of counterplay with the black pieces here. Ominous pawns potentially ready to march. This one's a bit in jail. Knight's very tricky. Rook's coming soon. Not the way you want to play it. So in the game, we saw the move of bishop e6 check. Now you could take that bishop off, but we don't see it played. King f8. What happens if you try and creep in with the queen? Important question. Will you run into a check? This is the problem. Rook takes can then be played. Pawn takes, then you pick up the rook, or you first play queen e7, another good move. Let's pause it there. Not played in the game. Instead, we saw Magnus go king h1, and he wants to bring a rook to the g file here, continue the attack. Rook g6 is then played in response, covering that g file, opening the protection of the knight now. Knight protects the rook, but Sina is hanging on by a thread here. Magnus now has the winning move of queen h7. And you're actually creeping into g8. This time it's working because there's no knight check. But Magnus misses it. He carries on with his plan of rook to g1. We get takes with check. King recaptures. Surely Magnus is sitting pretty now. The whole thing's going to collapse on the light squares. Well, no. This guy has seen a move ahead. I definitely wasn't the first one to coin that, so cannot take credit. And he plays queen to e8, leaving the knight to hang. And Magnus does take it. He doesn't have anything better. Check. This is the point. Now the best response here is the very inhuman knight to g3. You have to assess that the two bishops are better than the bishop versus rook. This is how the game could proceed. Something like this. Sample line. White is standing better. You do kind of get it with this one being a monster, but not easy to judge that. So Magnus plays the move of king to f1, and it gets the double question marks of doom, because after this knight falls, queen h5 setting up a checkmate in 1. Black now has a perpetual check to make the draw. But how do you do it? Which of the 3 squares should you check from? Well done if you saw the idea. Queen takes on c4, check. Missed by Sina. We're into analysis mode. And this is how the line goes. It's not simple, because after you check here, is the king not running away? Well, no, there's check. Pawn blocks. Sorry, king runs. Now pawn blocks. Very tricky, as you can tell. And after king f5, you now check from this diagonal. And you have to be careful stepping onto the dark squares. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For example, here you get mated and lose the game, this sort of thing. So anyway, this was the way to mate the perpetual, but very far from simple or obvious. This was played in the game, and now it's losing. Magnus runs away, now to a dark square, check, another dark square, check, bishop blocks, sacrificing itself, but it doesn't matter, because the point is, this is unavoidable checkmate, and after queen takes with check, king g1, we do indeed see resigns. There's no check here, no check here, and no other check anywhere else, of course. This is then on the way. This is the only way to stave it off. What to do? This would be check and mate. A fantastic game there by Magnus Carlsen and his opponent. Do check out bod.coach. It really is absolutely fantastic. And if you want to see another incredible game of chess, have a look at the video on screen, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.